What's good, traders? Welcome back to another trading psychology video. If you're new here, my name is Varun. I've been helping traders with psychology for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've dedicated this channel to help you guys master the inner game of trading. We dive deep into the psychology, the mindset, the emotional mastery that separates consistently profitable traders from everyone else. In this one, we're going to dive into a psychological blueprint that you can begin to use in your own trading so you can begin to trade without fear. So stay with me for the next 15 minutes or so, because what I'm about to share isn't your typical trading advice. We're going to dive deep into the psychology, the philosophy, and the neuroscience of why your brain treats financial loss as such a threat, and how you can begin to reprogram that response so you can trade with clarity, confidence, and genuine emotional equilibrium. Because emotional equilibrium is a state we want to learn to trade from. It's the state of a balanced mindset. So when you're no longer chasing profits nor chasing or avoiding losses. So first, let's understand what we're actually dealing with, okay? The fear of loss in trading isn't irrational. It's something that's wired into you. The human brain evolved in an environment where loss of food, shelter, or even general safety could mean death. Your amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, can't tell the difference between a dinosaur chasing you 50,000 years ago or your trading account dropping 1, 2, 3%. To your nervous system, they both register as danger. Research in behavioral psychology calls this loss aversion, and it shows us consistently that the pain of losing something is almost twice as bad as the pleasure of gaining that same thing. So if you lose $500 on a trade, the pain of losing that is almost twice as bad as the pleasure of gaining $500 on another trade. And that creates havoc in a trading mind, in a trader's mind. So I want you to know that every emotion, every bit of fear, every anxiety and compulsive behavior is rooted in a one-sided perception. You're only seeing one side of a two-sided equation when they appear. When you fear loss in trading, you're perceiving that loss as having only downsides, but what you're not seeing is the equal and opposite benefits that are present at the same time. Now, this isn't about pretending that losses don't hurt, because as you know, they do, but this is about training your mind to hold both sides of reality at once. Because when you can begin to do that, the emotional charge begins to dissolve. And when the emotional charge dissolves, you make better trading decisions. You see, the fear doesn't just disappear because you get better at trading. You get better at trading because the fear begins to dissolve itself. Now, the fear of loss in trading doesn't always show up in the same way. In my experience coaching traders and working with traders, it can portray itself in a few different ways, or in a few different masks. I'm going to break down the 3 most common ones, and let me know below in the comments if you can recognize any of them in yourself. The first one is mask paralysis. So this is the trader who can't pull the trigger. They see the setup, they know their entry, but they freeze. They watch the trade play out without them, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But they never end up getting in. And they're not afraid of the markets per se. They're afraid of being wrong. See, their identity is so attached to being right that taking a loss feels like a personal failure in their own identity. And that's a very common one that I see in a lot of people. The second one is premature exit. So this is when the trader gets in to a position, the position goes slightly against them, and they bail. And what normally happens is, right after that, the position goes in their favor. Their nervous system can't tolerate the discomfort of being in a drawdown, so they seek relief through exiting the position, even though that exit is probably an irrational decision. And the third mask is revenge trading. This one I'm sure you've all heard. This is the trader who takes a loss and they immediately try to win it back, to make it back. They end up increasing their position size, they abandon their system, and they chase the market. This is when the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, as I said earlier, hijacks the prefrontal cortex. So in other words, it's the emotional brain overpowering the rational brain, and that normally leads to compounding even more losses. So if you recognize any of these in yourself, good, because awareness is the first step to begin to overcome these and dissolving this fear. Now let's get into the real work. Right now, in this very moment, every perceived negative has an equal and opposite positive. They're both equal in time. The positive and the negative are simultaneously happening at the same time in the present moment. Your job as a trader committed to mastering their psychology is to train yourself to find the other side of a perceived negative. So, I want you to pull up your trading journal, find a loss you've taken in the past, maybe one that kind of hurt a little bit, and I want you to ask yourself the following questions, and slowly and honestly. So the first one is, what did this loss teach me that a winner could not have? Every loss contains market information, Every loss reveals something about your system, your execution, your emotional state, your risk management, or even the market's current behavior. If you extract their lessons, you can compress years of trading experience into a single trade. Question 2. Who else benefited from this loss? Now, this might sound strange, but think about it, right? The counterparty on your trade, someone took the other side of it. Okay, if your stop was triggered, another trader may have made a profitable trade. And markets are ecosystems, so your loss is another participant's gain. Now, this isn't about celebrating your loss. It's about recognizing that value wasn't destroyed. It was just transferred. The universe still stays in balance. Even though there was a negative, it had an equal and opposite positive attached to it. Question number 3 is, how did this loss protect you? So sometimes a loss that feels catastrophic in the moment saved you from a much larger catastrophe further down the line. Maybe that loss stopped you from adding to a position that would have wiped you out. Maybe it shook your overconfidence before it could cause any real damage. And your risk management exists precisely to limit losses. Well, limit loss sizes. Question number 4. What strengths did this loss force you to develop? Okay, so resilience, discipline, and emotional regulations, they're not soft skills. In trading, these are the difference between a long-term career in trading and blowing an account. You don't develop them in comfort, you develop those in adversity. Now, this next bit is important because this is where the real shift is going to happen. I want you to keep writing answers to each question until you begin to feel a genuine shift. And when this begins to happen to you, this is what we call emotional equilibrium. And that's the most powerful psychological state a trader can operate from. Okay, emotional equilibrium. Because when you're in emotional equilibrium, you're neither running from losses or chasing gains. Your decisions become clear, you execute your system and you honor your stops. You let your winners run and you become, in the truest sense, a disciplined trader. So let's move on to reframing your relationship with risk, okay? So I want to address something that comes up consistently when I've worked with traders. They often say to me like, I understand the logic, but in the moment I still freeze and I still panic. So what I want you to know is, you can't logic your way out of an emotional response in real time. You can't think your way through a fear response that is happening at a neurological level. But what you can do is change the meaning that triggers that response in the first place. And that happens before the trade, not during the trade. So this is where your values hierarchy becomes critical, which is another core concept of this video. So what this means is every human has a hierarchy of values, okay? The things that they consider most important in their life. And here's the principle. You will only master the things that are linked to your highest values. If your highest values are security, comfort, and stability, and you've associated trading with risk and loss, your nervous system will fight you every single time that you sit down at the charts. You begin to self-sabotage, but not because you're weak, but because your trading behavior is in direct conflict with your deepest programming. Now, the solution isn't to lower your values. The solution is to link them to your trading. So you can ask yourself, how does becoming a disciplined trader serve your highest values? How does mastering the psychology in the markets make you a more confident human being? Or how does the consistency you build in trading reflect the character you want to embody in other areas of your life? When you can genuinely answer those questions, when trading becomes more of an expression of your highest values rather than a threat to them, the fear begins to lose its grip. You're no longer trading against yourself, you're trading as an extension of yourself. And that is peak trading state. That's exactly what we want to achieve. So I'm going to give you a daily practice that ties this all together. Before you trade, I want you to spend 5 minutes in what I call a clarity audit. So I want you to review your system, review your risk parameters, remind yourself that every trade is simply a probability event with a predetermined maximum loss. You're not betting everything you have. You're deploying a defined risk in pursuit of an asymmetrical bet. Now, after every loss, don't move on to the next trade immediately. I want you to take 10-15 minutes or so and run the Loss Audit. So you extract the lesson, you find the equilibrium, and then, and only then, you consider moving on to your next trade. Okay, that's an important one. And then at the end of every week, I want you to review your journal, but not just for your P&L, but for your emotional patterns. Find out where your fear showed up. Where did you honor your system? Where did you override it? And what was the story you were telling yourself in those moments in time? Because trading journals, they're not just performance records. If you're a trader committed to psychological mastery, which I'm guessing you are because you're watching this video, then they act as like mirrors. They show you who you're being when no one's watching. And who you're being when no one's watching determines, or even when people are watching, determines the results you get. So here's what I want to leave you with today. So remember that the market doesn't create your fear. The market simply reveals the fears that you already carry. And that's actually good news, because what you carry can be put down. What is learned can be unlearned. And what is believed can be challenged. The traders who last the longest in this game aren't the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who have done the inner work on themselves to ensure that fear doesn't make their decisions for them. So, do the work, run the audit, and trade from equilibrium. If you got some value from this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment below and let me know which of the 3 masks of fear resonate with you the most, okay? Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.